are Squawking Dead. And we're back from Walker Stalker Atlanta. Just want to say that out loud and out front, because I did say it yesterday when we did the giveaway winners, which if you hadn't caught that, I made it a full episode in audio and video formats, both on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Wait, there's more. Mixer, Twitch, and probably some other things. Who knows? I forgot. And yes, it's available on all podcast platforms. Yeah, we'll call that now. We'll call them podios. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Anyway, shortest episode ever. Even shorter than yesterday. It was only 9 minutes long in audio and 15 minutes long in video. I like to make notes of these things because it's pretty impressive to me and only me. With that being said, we will be having because we just talked about it now, we will be having a wrap-up episode after this one. Not tonight, because we love you. We'll talk about it. We're going to actually lean into the pre-recorded format that we talked about a couple episodes back, and then throughout probably Fear the Walking Dead. And, oh, hey, guys, you're already giving us likes on this stream, you silly people on Instagram. I love you so much. Okay, anyway. So, yeah, so I wanted to let you know that we're going to start leaning into that a little bit more as we start getting back on track, as we have no housekeeping, except for one thing, and that is, there's not as much, there's two things. One isn't as much a housekeeping thing as it is a look to the future sort of thing, because we are, I think I can speak for most of us, we are going to be going to Camp Merrimack in Memorial Day, this upcoming 2020 Memorial Day weekend. Tickets are already on sale, and give some thought to that exclusive big-time VIP package, which comes with your hotel accommodations, meals already prepared for you so you can spend all day at the event. And Zora Aesthetics, you are giving us a lot of likes, and I just love you for it. No, I said that wrong. But that's okay. I'll figure it out later with you when I DM you. And how do I say that right? But I love you anyway, because your art and your edits are excellent. This will probably get edited out in the audio, but anyway. Because I'm just mooning over you. So she's liking it. So yes, give some thought to coming out to Camp Merrimack. Not Fall Bash, Camp Merrimack, and it's still a charity bash, but I think they're just going with Camp Merrimack. So give some thought to already signing up for that, in light of the second bit of not really housekeeping, but it's more of a news update. It looks as though James Frazier has stepped down from Walker Stalker. Now, for those of you who don't know the story of Walker Stalker, it was started by two fans who had a wonderful time on the set of The Walking Dead, and they decided, hey, you know, we're this early adopter thing, and we want to get on the ground floor of the fandom because I think these people need a con, you know? And from there sprung a very, very, I'd say mostly well-engineered con that has worked for many, many years. And in spite of some of when we went there last year, Carol, things went wrong.
Yeah. And
from that point forward, things started to we didn't know the cracks. No. The cracks were underneath the surface, and we had no idea until some of the Walker Stalkers got canceled throughout the year, and it came out, and maybe this should have been something that was publicized sooner, and you know, hindsight isn't 20/20, right? But and I want to make one thing clear. We talked about this right before the episode. We want, as much as I want to do the entire breakdown of what happened, I really do. On the other hand, I came to the conclusion that there's no real reason to do that, because I think a lot of people have already made up their minds about how they feel about certain things, in spite of whatever I could say. And that's not to say that I'm either making an indictment on Walker Stalker, James Frazier, and be like, I don't know James Frazier personally. I know there are some people that do and have some things to say about that. I know some things happened over the course of the weekend, whether they're just crappy things that are beyond his control, and that there are incidents that happened that maybe he could have controlled, and I'm not going to address any of that, and I'll tell you why. Because, yeah, and I part of what I said before, and that's, there's nothing I can say or do to probably change anybody's mind or I could maybe give people some perspective on the matter, but beyond that, what I like to focus on, and this is what we do, part of what we do, Carol, Rachel back me up on this, is yes, we break down things to an absurd degree that after the show you go, I think we went a little too far on that point. but
belabored it.
Yeah, we beat it to death, it reanimated, and then we killed it again. And then we just killed it some more to make sure it was dead.
Yeah.
But the most important thing, and the reason why we do that, and this is the core of it, is that we do it to lay everything out, but also in the sense of it's all about the love. It's all about the love of the fandom, because a lot of the things you have to say about the shows have a lot to do with how you love the fandom. And I don't think doing an autopsy, which Walker Stalker isn't dead, but just for the sake of argument, an autopsy on Walker Stalker doesn't really engender the love of the fandom. I don't think, in my opinion. And I don't know, I think this is the opinion of many people. Like, we can kill it, we can go through it, and I don't think we'll be able to heal from it. I mean, if you are injured by it. So what I'd prefer to do, and I'd like to get your opinions on this, because if you do want to know what we think about anything, you can always DM us. You can go to squawkingdead.com. On the lower right-hand corner, there's the ability to DM the Squawking Dead account. And you can also DM us individually. If you haven't looked at our captions, you could probably see where our individual accounts are on, so you can get a sense of who we are, what we're about. What we think individually, because we do have differing opinions on this, which is another reason why I really don't want to go into the autopsy. Because I mean, I will have a different opinion than Carol. I will have a different opinion than Meg, for sure. And yeah, Carol has different opinions than I was gonna say Cosmo on 09. Rachel has a different opinion than I do, and Chris definitely has a different opinion than all of us.
Yes.
But I will say, I think the best thing to do from here on in is to really, just really give it a rest. Talk about what you loved about that weekend. And I know for those of you who went, there were some hiccups. But for the most part, I think a lot of you got to see the people that you've seen online for the most part. You guys have... you guys have, even though sometimes when you met the cast members that you met, and you've talked shit about Walker Stalker, you still were grateful to be in their presence. You talk to them about everything. You kind of check in to see how they are. They check in and see how you are. And that's the thing I want to focus on. And a lot of you are Aaron Nightmare on Elm is saying, yeah, Walker Stalker is by far the best con I've ever done, even though there are always hiccups. Yeah, and so it's let's just focus on the positive. Some of us had a very excellent Fear the Walking Dead panel, Thomas O'Mara.
I know, right. Yeah. Seriously.
If you haven't caught it, we do have some footage from the panel. For the most part, I think we got most of it from different angles.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so Rachel actually had my phone. But yeah, Rachel, you say you kept dropping the phone because you were like, "Oh my god, this panel's awesome."
Yeah,
that's how good it was.
I was watching it and I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm recording." Yeah.
So if you have anybody to blame, Thomas, you could blame her. You could blame her. It's right here.
We had like a 2-prong attack.
Yeah, between those two things. So we'll be getting that footage up sometime within the next month, because Meg is doing the editing, and God bless her. She does a top-notch job. I will say that much. But B, she does this for a living. So, by her good graces, we will get it out to you, and we'll either do a separate video on social media, or we'll just do an episode on it so that we can all comment on it and join in the revelry. So I think, that aside, I know they took 10 minutes of our valuable time to go through, but it needed to be said because we will be talking about it further, but it just broke literally hours before we got on. So without further ado, I'm your host, David Cameo. We got OG Squawk and D Carol G, and to my stage left is Cosmo Mom 09, Rachael Burt. And we're going to be talking about ghosts, spooky ghosts. with you tonight. It's episode 3. It's episode 3 because we're on episode 74, so that kind of screwed me up because I put more episodes. I actually had it in line with the number that we have for episodes. I know. I had to knock it off. Yeah. Oh, one more thing. I do want to say we finally posted the blog for the last episode. So it was episode 72, which covered the last episode of The Walking Dead. Check that out. There's some notes there. Nothing special, but I just thought since it was released so late, I'd alert you to its presence, and then you could check it out. And it has the links to the podcast. I think in the future, I want to also include links to the various video feeds as well. I'm going to try to figure out how to do that in a way that makes sense. And without further ado, let's get into the episode. Now, I'm going to turn this over to Carol, and you just let me know, what are your impressions of this episode?
It's very introspective. I mean, I think that Negan's sentence or statement to Aaron was basically kind of like the crutch of the whole thing, which was basically like, if you don't protect what's yours, well, how was it he said it exactly? He said, if you don't protect what's yours,
like it doesn't belong to you.
It doesn't belong to. It's eventually it's not going to belong to you. So it'll belong to someone else. And so I feel like that was kind of like the main thing between, because Aaron took that and interpreted it as like, are you saying that I didn't do what I needed to do to protect Eric? You could say the same thing for whatever guilt Sadiq has, which is a whole other story. That's a whole conversation in of itself. And obviously, like Carol, in terms of all of the children that have been in her care, so it just seems like you have these different characters that are kind of grappling with, they didn't protect what was theirs, and they lost those particular individuals, and they're kind of all grappling with this, they're haunted by these ghosts, basically. They're all being haunted by these ghosts.
I was going to ask that question, like, what is the significance of ghosts, right? The episode moniker, right?
Yeah.
Good call.
That's how I interpreted it, at least, as an overall.
Yeah, Rach, what do you have to add to that?
I guess I mostly felt... I mostly felt very anxious the whole time. Like,
I'm anxious thinking about it.
Yeah, like just everything that was happening. I mean, Negan didn't want to be where he was, and so he just was itching to get back. Aaron clearly didn't want to be around Negan, so he just, that was a whole anxious scene, and everything that Carol's going through. Like, I mean, I was having a hard time telling what was real, what wasn't, and obviously she was too.
Yeah.
So it was very, like, I felt very tense the whole time.
The episode did its job.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It was ooky spooky.
They never fail.
Yeah.
Who was it? Was it Cutlets that directed this episode? No, it was, I want to say, okay, the director that directed this episode was the same one that directed, he was one of the early directors from the early seasons. And I can't remember I was going to link it to one specific episode. I just can't recall what it's called. You know who would tell me better? If you go to @FearTWDS on Instagram, she did an episode analysis on this specific one and mentioned the director's name. So check that out. That's going to go in the show notes apparently. So, yeah. So, I don't know if I have much to add to that, but I will say that, I kind of want to go to, because a lot of this is like, can you believe what you're seeing? And it seems like the Whisperers are putting them into a state where they have to submit. I mean, a lot of this episode is not only about ghosts, but it's about being put into a state of submission. There's constant reminders or constant nods to putting somebody in a state of submission, whether it comes to Sadiq, whether it comes to Aaron trying to put Negan in a state of submission, and then eventually Negan putting Aaron in a state of submission, forcing him into a state of submission. And then the overall of the Whisperers putting our communities into a state of submission by just barraging them with, overloading their senses by barraging them with walker attacks. Eventually enough walkers come about that can topple your walls. So they know that they're going to take care of their thing, even though they're well protected. But still, if you wear them down, and I'll say this much from the sneak peeks, it looks like from the AMC, and it's relevant to what I'm saying now. Judith herself in the AMC.com sneak peek mentions this as Michonne is actually, and let me just bring it up for a sec. Michonne is ferrying Eugene, and I think also, by the way, Scott, who's played by Kenrick Green, Sonequa Martin Green's husband. Mm-hmm. Remember how we talked about him in the trailer? Like, I think you, Carol, was it you that said, I think it's Scott that's with Michonne on the boat when they go away?
On the boat?
Or was that you, Rachel?
No, that was me.
I'm sorry. I apologize. But I think he is in the car as they're ferrying about, as well as Judith. And Michonne and Judith have a conversation about bullies, and that is, there are some bullies that you can live with, like your bosses or whatever, like that. But for those that you can't, you have to you have to deal with it. You have to remedy the problems. You have to fight back. And Judith says something very important. She says, I think, do you remember what it takes to get RJ to go to bed? And she goes, okay, yeah. We let him run around until he tires himself out. I was like, what if the Whisperers are trying to deploy a strategy, like their unusual strategy, something that they don't normally do, to wear us down to where we'll make mistakes. This is Judith. And I'm just continually impressed by this character. Like, out of the mouths of babes.
Yeah.
And which is good that we got it, because it kind of lets us look at this episode under a new lens. Like, there is this constant theme of submission. Like, who's going to submit to who? Is Siddiq going to submit to his PTSD? And there's also little elements that suggest that there's another type of submission that's going on here. And we'll definitely get into that. But yeah, I think, it's hard to know where to start first. Like, cause on the one hand, there's the element of chronology, which, we can go through things chronologically until we get to Carol, because Carol is
that's its own separate segment.
It's nice. Like a biopsy of it. It's like of its own, like an autopsy of its own that we need to take.
Yeah. Maybe we could talk about it per character. Like, maybe talk like Eugene and Rosita versus, because we have that
small bit.
We have that small bit there.
And then you have Negan and Aaron,
Siddiq
and Dante.
Right, and then you get back to Alexandria, and then there's
I love your smile, Rach, when you say that.
I get it.
And
but do you though?
Oh, I do.
You don't know what's going on up here.
He's not the only one who once was called an Adonis.
Wait, me? No.
Maybe now.
I don't know.
Anyway. By the way, did everybody rub your head at Walker Stalker?
A lot of people did.
What was the main cast member that was doing that? Was it a cast member? I can't remember if it was.
Khary Payton did, didn't
Khary, yep.
Khary Payton pet me. That was pretty cool.
That was cool. That was very cool.
Yeah. That's significant.
Yes. Well, speaking of Adonis, right?
Right?
Anyway, so that's great. All right, so let's get into this. So let's start with an easy one. No, let's start with Negan and Aaron, because just to kind of get one thing out of the way is the chronology. The whole beginning of the episode goes through this chronology of like them being from the moment they wake up at 6 a.m. or Carol does, she's popping pills. Gage and Laura hanging out, laughing and smiling while they take out walkers. I thought that was kind of a cute thing.
That was nice to see.
Mm-hmm. Which is also kind of interesting when you look at the town hall too, by the way. How like you see Gage in this like, even though this sucks, we're taking out walkers, I'm having a fun time. But then when they start realizing though, something bigger is going on, maybe.
Right.
Gage is like, over their heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very much that kind of vibe.
Yeah. Aaron dispatching a whole bunch of walkers. And I think we'll start with the town hall, because I think it sets the stage for all the different paths people take to come. But I do want to talk about one thing before we do that, because there's this theme that happens at the beginning of the episode and at the end of the episode, and that is Michonne visiting Judith, her sitting by the window. And it happens at the beginning of the episode and the end of the episode in almost the exact same way, which creeped me out a little bit, because after watching the episode the first time and seeing Carol have all these delusions, I started thinking about like Michonne, and this is like after at least 24 hours, maybe even more, of them fighting. She visits Judith. Judith sitting at the window knowing what's going on. And RJ's asleep in bed both times. And she goes like, Judith is like, it's not smart to sleep unless it's safe. And Michonne goes, no, it's not. Well, is it safe? And then it cuts. And then she does sort of the same thing at the end. She goes, is it safe? Mm-hmm. She goes, for now.
For now.
And then she just falls right asleep.
Right.
But
man, this whole episode about sleep deprivation, I mean, it just made me tired. Just
it brought me home.
I was like,
for real. Like, we were both so tired. What did I tell you? I said, I don't know if I told you this, but I was like, I got to catch up on Talking Dead because I'm always seem to be like 2 episodes behind. I got halfway or maybe 60% of the way from the one from 2 weeks ago, and I fell asleep at my desk.
Oh my god!
And it auto played the next episode. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I like fell asleep like this, like as you see me now. I fell asleep like.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
It's been a long time since that's happened to me.
Yeah, man. It's like it's not easy to like burn the midnight oil anymore. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I was watching it, and it's like, yeah, man. Like the moral of this story is also we are tired.
We are the end of the world.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I just what I want to emphasize was that my initial gut instinct was like, oh, is Carol? And I know I'm wrong, but is Carol not the only one who's having who's seeing things?
I thought
that was my immediate thought.
Yeah, the way Judith and RJ were in the exact same positions both times, and I thought it especially strange that it seemed to be like the middle of the day and RJ was asleep. Like, I don't know about you, Carol, but my son stopped taking naps at like 2.
Yeah, no, my
2 years old.
Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, no, it's true.
He seemed too old for a nap, and it was So I definitely my gears were turning. I'm like, this doesn't seem right.
Mm-hmm. No,
right.
That's true.
Do you know where else my mind went? And this is all because of Ashley Weidman.
Okay? Oh, stop it. Stop it.
You know what I'm going to say, right?
Yes, I do.
I'm almost thinking they don't exist. Like, both she and RJ don't exist. It's fucking me up.
Judith was on the beach, though.
Judith does exist.
But was she?
Judith exists.
Was she? How do you know?
She found the mask.
Okay, maybe Michonne found the mask.
Judith interacts with Negan. She's interacted with Daryl.
Shared delusion.
Oh my god!
It's the idea of Judith and Negan's just like, Michonne's crazy. I'm just gonna egg her along.
I can still jump on the RJ doesn't exist train, but Judith, no, she's real.
But
as soon as I say it out loud, though, I'm like, maybe.
Right. No, but here's the thing. Like, I know I'm wrong. But for a hot 5-10 minutes it took me to write notes down pertaining to the scene, I was just like, oh shit, come on. Like this little girl that we got attached to, there's a way you can write her out as a complete delusion. And it really freaked me out. Like, it really, thank you. That's all Ashley's fault. For real. Right? I don't think I would have thought that unless she just, it's a thorn in my brain. But anyway, now, of course, this makes narrative sense, having the same scene, being like, probably 48 hours later, maybe more, by the time the episode ends. But like to have it in the same place. And the one real thing I will say is that I do not think Judith slept until that moment. Because she went like that. She went out. Yeah. And so that told me a little bit about Judith. She's like, I know I shouldn't be involved in this. I do want to, but I will at least wait for my mom at the window. and be at the ready.
She was protecting RJ.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but man, I was so freaked out.
No, I did have. I mean, I didn't think about it too hard, but yeah, I did think it was. I'm like, this is too eerie.
Right.
This is giving me all the wrong feels right now, and I didn't like it.
Yeah. I don't like these feelings.
I don't like it.
I reject them, but I do. I have responsibility.
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. Okay. One thing I wanted to point out before we continued was, I don't know if you noticed this, but it looks like the logo for The Walking Dead. It's like slowly on fire at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you noticed that. Now I'm gonna
words, yeah.
The words, yeah.
Yeah.
Right when they at the end of the
yeah.
But I want to look at the other episodes to see if it's slowly progressing,
getting bigger.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because only in this one wasn't noticeable for me. You know. Tom's like, what if Madison is a delusion? It's not Fear the Walking Dead, Tom.
Madison is delusional.
No, we're delusional for thinking that she may still be alive. Anyway.
Never know.
Wrong show.
Yeah, wrong show. Okay, so. Yeah, it's funny, like how I wrote down before I saw the sneak peeks, the whispers are pushing him to the brink into rash decision making. Rosita and Michonne's sleepiness. But anyway, I just thought that was funny. Now, what do you make of Gamma at the beginning? Like, as she comes up to them, having been at 24 hours worth of fighting off these walkers. Like
I thought she said the only thing that bothered me, or I don't know if it bothered me, the only thing that made me think harder was the way she said her. I don't know
she was like her.
Yeah, yes, that's like, she almost sounded annoyed when she said it, right?
Idiot.
Yeah, and something so like flippantly like teenagery about her when like the last one when like the last episode where like Beta's like, oh, I feel nothing, towards you, and she's like, yes, I also am empty.
Yeah.
And I just can't let that one go too. It's funny.
I can't because it's just so funny. It's like, yes, yeah,
and I think it was deliberate. Like it seemed like that she delivered that line that way deliberately too.
Yeah, it's sort of like
that's why it's funny, I think.
Right, it's like comical in a way where she's just like,
her.
Right, but I
feel nothing
was
towards
she annoyed? Was she annoyed with Daryl for asking the question? Because to me, it sounded more like she was annoyed with Alpha.
It just sounds like she's annoyed at being like middle management. Like when I'm tasked by like my boss to be like the bearer of bad news, and it's sort of like, look, man. It's not my call. I mean, like, it's almost sort of like, look, can you meet her over here? Who are you going to meet? This one.
My superior. Hello.
Yeah, exactly. It's like my boss. Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to see if like you guys had any gauge on like, or any of your opinions changed as a result. Because I mean, like but you guys, it looks like you still have like the same opinions you had last week. You're just operating off of those principles.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Aaron is saying, Nightmare on Elm is Thora said something at the panel about Gamma being bipolar as far as shifting between her whisper personality and her pre-apocalypse personality, and I think it just shifted. So,
right.
Yeah, and she said something like that on Talking Dead, like when I woke up finally, or no, it was from last week, the week before is Talking Dead. She said something about like. There's this interesting struggle, or not even, I don't know if it's a struggle, but there's like the two sides of her, and one that knows that this is the way forward and the other is life before. Mm-hmm. And so for now, at least, she's allowing that the here and now to take over. And it may be one of those things, and maybe this goes into the submission thing, and maybe it goes into, the submission thing where like, at some point, one idea of her will take submission over the other, right? Yeah. So we don't know what that trigger is going to be for her, but maybe it'll come, and maybe that'll be interesting too. And maybe that'll make her more of an interesting character too.
Yeah.
I find the silence in her character actually very fascinating because I find that people who don't show their cards are way more unpredictable, and you don't know where they're going to go. And so far, I don't see any motivations in her, like, which is scary to me because like the extreme opposite impressions that we both have, like, show us how unpredictable she is so far. Like the fact that you get middle management vibes from her and I get, oh, this could be very, very terrifying, is just goes to show how like wide, because I've seen other people who say the same thing that I'm thinking, but I think more people are thinking what you're thinking, is that like it's just survival, baby, nothing more, nothing less. But there's
never know.
Yeah, there's a nice quotient of people that like, oh, I think she could take over the whole key lime pie, but I don't know. Okay, so let's go to the town meeting, because I think that was really interesting, because I thought it was really cool that we have the callback to the highwaymen, and they still kind of exist.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
There's still a contingency around.
Like an identity.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I don't really have anything to add to that. I just like that there's I think it's nice that they didn't throw them away once Alec and what was the other one? Because now I only know is Alec, because it's the only person I see. Was
Ozzy.
Oh, Ozzy.
Ozzy.
Right. Did she mention what her name was? Because I don't think we got it.
I don't
think so.
I watched it twice too.
Michonne didn't ask either. She just asked for solutions and they didn't have any.
Right. And then
I liked that too. Like
I do appreciate that.
Go ahead. You know, be in an uproar, but what are we actually going to do about it?
Right.
Please.
What's your plan?
I want answers. Yeah, I want answers. And they're like, well, never mind. Like, okay, then sit down until we have a plan.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, tangible solutions to complex problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like people forget that, you know, instead of, because the one thing that is dangling over their heads, like the sword of Damocles, is like this idea of a 10th of what, and this is what's going to get really interesting, is that only Daryl has seen the Horde.
Right.
And so, I mean, I'm thinking that this may have, you may have people who do not trust Daryl Dixon, because for the most part, he was away for, I think he was away during the time jump.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yes. Right up until Carol had him take care of Henry. That's why that took me so long to say.
Too many H's.
Right, for like 6 years.
Yeah.
And so, who is this guy? Not everybody knows him. Maybe some do, maybe some don't. And as people start getting traded to different communities, like, well, I mean, I don't know the guy. And so what do I have to trust his word, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's the only thing preventing from going off over the ledge, you know. So, I think that may play in later episodes, but yeah, that's the sword of Damocles that's hanging over their head, and that's what gets Michonne to shut everybody the fuck up, because it's like, yeah, okay, until we have solutions, it's probably just a good idea to hear her out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's still not a good idea, but whatever. So, so yeah, I also think it's interesting to see Gage again as this kind of interesting character, because his friends, you know, Addie and Rodney were also Pike victims. So he's just like the highwayman person calling for their head.
I like that the show, you know, constantly reminds us, like, yeah, we lost a lot of our main focus people, but don't forget these other people we lost too.
Yeah. And it's something that you said, and it makes me glad that I had our episode banner have this main focus on the Pikes in the background, is because that's a feature. That's something that the show is, I mean, it doesn't let you forget it implicitly, but it keeps it in your mind as these episodes suffer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I find that kind of interesting too. I sincerely think that we're going to see a lot more of Gage's interactions, or like reactions, as time progresses. Like a lot of the Silence the Whispers kind of propaganda that goes around, maybe partially due to him, you know.
Yeah.
And maybe Laura, you know, she might get sucked in, or maybe lines start dividing those two too, by the way. Like maybe Laura's, You know, the rational-headed one. He's like, no, you're a bitch. And like, you know, masks come out.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's going to be divisions among the community because of those that want to act maybe impulsively and those that are like, oh, you know, like, do we really want to go there? You know, are we prepared to go there?
Right, exactly. And maybe some people get converted over one way or the other. So we're never going to really tell. But it's going to happen. And it looks like we see a little bit more of that in the next episode, maybe. Because as we will reveal, I don't know if we're going to reveal, but the sneak peeks basically show us what is happening at the Hilltop. And it looks like, whoa is happening at the Hilltop. Yeah. I'm not so sure about the fate of some of these people in the next episode. That's all I'm going to say about that. Hold on a second. Nightmare on Elm is saying, oh my God, did y'all see that Lindsley wants Laura to get romantic with Eugene?
No, I didn't see that.
I think I did see that.
I love that idea though.
Right?
That would be, I like that. I do like that idea.
I mean, Rosita shut that shit down, so
yeah. I mean,
that would be so cute.
Yeah. Do you know where Nightmare on Elm may have seen that is Rick Stuff on Instagram, shout out, did a little YouTube video interview with Lindsley. This was after a campaign of many back and forth memes between each other on Twitter. And he wore her down. And I'm kidding. No, he's just a funny guy. Rick Stuff is a funny account. And yeah, and that's how you found out Nightmare on Elm on Twitter, because of the back and forth. Because, I mean, they were talking about it, and then he finally sent her a bunch of questions so that he could post it as a video interview. Like, so it was, he sent her he sent her all the questions people had for her on Instagram, and she responded in a video that he cut up and pretended like he was asking them in real time, but it was like edited that way. But it's such a funny / bizarre video that he made. You know, just to do it.
It's good. I watched it.
Yeah, you watch it. It's so funny, though, isn't it?
It's really, yeah. It was really good.
He's a cool cat. He makes music too for like small shorts and stuff like that.
Oh dang.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. So yeah, I recommend you check out his Instagram. He's on Facebook too. Nikki Richter. I've Been Up All Night is his Facebook page, and there's one more thing. And on Twitter, I can't remember the exact spelling of his Twitter name, but if you look at the video that I posted on Twitter, you'll see his @ username in that post. But yeah, so he mentions that, and she mentioned that sort of in the video, like how, like initially their interactions were like, and it's kind of like the Gamma thing. It's like, what do you want? Like, lobster? Come on, dude. This is the apocalypse. We can't get you back.
That's awesome. That was great.
Yeah, but it's just like that there's this pre-existing, just kind of like Frankie, there's like this pre-existing relationship that they had at the sanctuary. So that's kind of an interesting callback. So, but she's a funny lady too. She has some really interesting ideas that I kind of would like to see if it makes narrative sense too. But it looks like maybe there's a thing with Gage. Maybe. I don't know.
How old do you think Laura is?
Older than Gage.
Older than Gage, yeah.
For sure.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
I mean, Gage is 4 years older now. Or no. I'm sorry. Well, how long do I think the time jump is? Probably a year older. But I mean, Laura always seemed like she was in her mid to late 20s. And that was before the time jump.
Gage is like late teens.
Yeah. By the way, it seems like also that Laura, feel me on this one. Does it feel like Laura is looking younger and younger as the time goes on?
Yeah.
Because she seemed older in previous seasons, and she just seems to be getting younger.
It's that rough savior living before you.
Especially as a savior,
yeah.
The rough well, actually, did they have AC? Remember we were talking about it? They did have AC in the sanctuary.
I think they did.
We talked about this, because it went out during the time that Negan was in the trailer with Father Gabriel. Do you remember this?
Okay.
The power went out.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time talking about why it would be better to go to one place versus the other. And you're like, AC Sanctuary, count me in.
Count me in, 100%. Definitely.
Oh man. But anyway. But yeah, Nightmare on Elm's also saying, I think Laura's the same age as Alden, like about 28.
That's about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's move on from this point. But it's also the town meeting is also the first place we see Father Gabriel. Oh, Father Gabriel. Siddiq's. Ooh, Freudian slip. So Siddiq's panic attacks.
Yeah, which Michonne and Dante both notice.
And Daryl.
Both of them. Daryl also. He noticed.
Yeah, I made note of that.
Did he?
Oh, yeah, I almost missed it too.
I didn't catch Daryl noticing.
Daryl kind of is like, you know, the wood panel in your parents' house back in the 80s. He just blends into the background.
Yeah.
You just don't notice it after a while, even though 20 years later you're like, oh God, why did we do this as parents? Why did we have wood paneling as wallpaper? That's Daryl.
Oh my God.
He just blends into
Wood
scenes.
paneling.
Wood paneling is Daryl.
Like dark wood paneling is Daryl Dixon. Are you still here?
He does blend in though.
Which is an asset. Yeah, it's like camouflage. America.
There you go. Camouflage.
Fuck yeah. So that's cool. Panic attacks are awesome. Yeah, so I think that really does cover it, but it does move on to like the strategies we talked about last week in the sneak peek. So more than that, the only noteworthy thing that's worth bringing up again is the ka-chunk of the mace hand.
Right.
I'll bring that up till the cows come home. That was such a cool sound effect.
I mean, it's real good marketing. I mean, you can make an Aaron action figure with like different hand attachments. Like, I mean, you can really go a lot of places with that.
Buzzsaw Aaron. Yeah. Even though there's no gas powered things.
Seriously.
You're sleeping. Was it starts with a V? What's the production company? Vanguard? No, it's I forget. Not Valiant. What is the production company? Valhalla. Yes, you're sleeping Valhalla. Let's see. This is gonna get edited. Because I mean, like, do they make action figures with kung fu grip anymore?
I don't
in
know.
General.
I don't think so.
Do they do this anymore? Like the kung fu chop, or is that too racist? I'm sorry.
They probably don't. They probably don't anymore.
All
None
right.
of Silas's toys do that. Well, that's not true. The wrestling ones do.
They do this thing with the arms.
Some of them. You like push a button and they like twist at the hips.
Oh my God. So maybe that hasn't died yet. I remember action figures used to have this little like switch in the back that if you kept doing doing this like an itching motion with your finger for the audio podcast, like the arms will wave up and down and the hips will twist like this, you know, like Chuck Berry, or was it? Anyway, whatever. Okay, I don't care about toys, but anyway, I didn't have them as a kid. So let's move on. We talked about this, I think, at one point. So I think that moves us to Aaron and Negan, because some shit happens here, some interesting shit. Because like the analysis of that scene is pretty interesting, how it starts and then how it finishes. But I'll let you guys go through some of that and then I'll just interject where I think necessary. But
I mean, it's, you know, they're kind of forced upon each other, you know, because Aaron needs fighters, Negan can fight. Neither one of them wants to do it, but they do. But you know, there's still this mistrust of Negan. I mean, look, I don't know what the man needs to do to get into everybody's good graces. I mean, for the love of God, like, you know, he's been in a cell for God knows how long. He rescued Judith during a winter storm with an injured leg and a dog. Like, he picks tomatoes.
Like 9 months ago, and yeah.
You know, like, when you talk about, like, doing your time, he's been doing his time. But there's still this, like, mistrust of him, and so, you know, that's where kind of the conflict starts, because, I mean, he's having Negan fight, you know, these walkers with like a broomstick. I mean, meanwhile, Aaron's got like mechanical freaking attachments, which is very cool. Yeah. But, like, I'm like, which
good
is very
on
cool.
you.
Right.
Yeah. Good on you, Yeah, that was like the one scene, like I was watching with Eddie, like the second time around that I was watching, and he's like, nice. When like Aaron's like killing things with like his mechanical, like, what is it, the little, I don't even know what you call it when it has like the little bulb.
It's a mace.
Is there a name? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
A mace.
Ah, okay.
A proper mace is dangling from a chain, but let's not split hairs with a mace. Right.
That is like the proper. Yeah. So yeah, that was like the one scene that incited nice for Eddie. Which yes, it was cool. But yeah, like he still doesn't even trust him with the crowbar. He doesn't want him to like use it. He wants to kind of like, like how you were saying, like submit and basically sort of like, like Negan said, it's like return to camp like a POW, like tied up or whatever. And
right.
I mean, but he hasn't shown any reason to, basically tie him down or whatever. He hasn't done anything to warrant that.
Wait, let me stop right there because I kind of want to see if Cosmo Mom, if Rachel feels the same way. Like, do you think that Aaron's being too tough, or do you think that that's what's required?
I don't think he's necessarily being too tough. The one thing I didn't agree with was when he found the crowbar and Aaron's like, put it down. Like, how is that any more dangerous than the broomstick? I mean, if Negan wanted to kill Aaron, he would. Like,
right.
The weapon. Like, at least he has a better weapon to defend himself with, having the crowbar.
Right.
But at the same time, I mean, yes, he's served some time, but I don't know that I would ever fully trust him. I mean, come on, we know what he's capable of. And if it were the real world, I mean, he'd be charged with no less than double homicide, which is a lot less than 6 years or more than 6 years in prison.
Yeah,
but
I hear you.
I mean, I don't know that. It's tough. I don't know that I would ever be able to really try. I would always be uneasy alone with him, I think.
Yeah.
Thorgon 9 is saying something, and I didn't understand it at first, but like, Thorgon 9 saying his transformation, Negan's transformation, was modeled on Morgan's, what he refers to as spell in the prison, and Morgan built that prison, or at least the idea of a prison, as a means to rehabilitate.
Yes. Rehabilitate. Yeah.
And so I find that connection really interesting, how that can change a person. And there is a part of me that agrees with you, Carol, like heavily, like, okay, because we're supposed to be like that. We're supposed to be like, what is Aaron's freaking problem? Right? Like, on the one hand, yeah, you could see him slowly kind of being reintegrated into society, which I think, because it also makes me think of larger issues. I can't help it, because when I look at like how we as a society, and it's not just America, I mean, other societies are doing it differently, but like when we put people in prison, they often get out and don't know what to do with themselves. And in some ways we do this in different environments too. Like, take for example, like we send high school kids to college expecting them to know exactly what to do. Or we, after being 12 years in a more or less similarly regimented homeroom, or going to different classes eventually in high school and getting acclimated to that, but then we throw them into this new environment. But I think we do that with a lot of things, when it comes to like, okay, college is over now what, okay, we're supposed to find a job. Well, I don't know how to do that. But more to the point, when we go to prisons, that's the most stark thing. Prisons and military are like the hugest things, and maybe they kind of tie together with what Sadiq's going through, but and then Dante, etc. But we put them in prison. We put criminals in prison. We expect them to serve their time, and then we don't have a plan for how to reintegrate them into society. But on the show, they're doing a pretty good job of taking these step by step. Like, okay, you can go out a little bit, you go back in. You wander around a little bit, then you come back in. Okay, maybe you can tend the gardens under guard, which we saw in the first episode.
Right.
Okay, and then you go back in,
Right.
And then eventually it seems to be like he goes in and out voluntarily. Like, or he can choose to go one way or the other.
No, I think they are doing
a work release program.
Right. It's almost like a work release program. Yeah. But they're doing a pretty good job with their work release program, post-apocalyptic style, you know, like I think it's very gradual and it's slowly but surely making him a contributor to their society, you know, whether or not by his own volition, but like still like he is contributing in ways that matter. Like he didn't want to go out with Aaron. He would just have rather stayed behind. But Father Gabriel was like, look, you need fighters. You can fight. So you're going.
You're doing everything to prevent yourself from saying peanut butter, meat, jelly, aren't you?
I love that. Peanut butter, meat, jelly. I was like, exactly. Right. But then I got that damn song stuck in my head.
Oh, no. Peanut butter, jelly. What?
Oh, no.
Exactly.
What?
Peanut butter, jelly.
What? Anyway.
I can't even plug my ears because I have headphones on.
Oh, by the way, your husband is skipping to a point, which I'll get to, by the way. Negan in the dark watching Aaron flounder. But I damn you. But I want to interject here because although we have this here, I think both things need to exist in various degrees of intensity, right? On the one hand, I agree with the fact that, okay, we're slowly reintegrating him. And I feel like he feels like he has a stake in society, this new world order. Whoa, using taboo words. But I also do think there needs to be, and I think you'll agree with me, there needs to still be an element of submission with Negan because and maybe this is because we know more than we should. Like even Angela Kang says, Negan be Negan. You know what I mean? And we see that in this episode. It's like, but there's this degree to which, okay, how much pressure do you apply? And I think if Aaron had applied less pressure, okay, maybe go back, but all right, you can walk of your own volition. You know, there's a line which is being crossed. Like, don't poke the Negan bear. You do not know who you are messing with. You know what I mean? So I still think you do need to apply some jackboot, like some neck pressure, but I don't think too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think Negan needs it too, like to kind of remind himself where he is, because he can pop up like a weasel at any moment and become whatever. Maybe not exactly what he was before, but I mean, you still have to kind of treat him the way he's. You know, the whole reason why he's there.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, Aaron pushed it, mentioning his wife. Like, I mean, that was dancing on the minefield.
Which,
you know?
So I'm glad you bring that up.
Right.
How does Aaron know so much about Lucille?
That's a good point, because like the only time that, to my recollection, that he ever mentioned Lucille was to
Gabriel.
Not even to Father Gabriel. It was to what's her name? Well, Father Gabriel, yes,
Gabriel for
but
sure.
Also Father Gabriel for sure, but also
oh yeah, who was it? Was it Michelle?
Jadis.
Oh.
Jadis.
Oh
right.
Yeah.
He mentioned it to Jadis also when they had their little episode.
But she never got the chance to relay it, I think, because that was right when stuff was happening. Right before.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess you can assume that information circulated.
At least with Gabriel, yeah, maybe.
At least from Gabriel to others.
Or even like, if Negan can hear what's happening on the outside, I think it's safe to assume that other people can hear what's happening on the inside too, if they pay attention. Do you know what I mean? Like to the jail cell? So
especially Judith, because she's hanging out there.
Yeah, so... Yeah, I just, that's a fascinating nugget. And there's another nugget, which is really, really interesting to me, which we'll get to when we dissect the Carol thing. But it also brings up Aaron, the man with the metal arm by the river. And we'll talk about that when we get to it. But it just seemed like Aaron seems to know things that we wouldn't expect him to know. And which is probably why he feels like he needs to put pressure, or maybe why it's even personal for him. You know, and then bringing up the Eric thing is just such a trigger for him too. Like, or just thinking about like what happened at the what was it, the armory, or I forget what we called it, but
I think it was the armory.
What we thought was the armory or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Okay, so
but basically the tables get turned because but I mean, Negan could have reacted right then and there, when Aaron got in his face, and he didn't.
Right.
He didn't,
He kind of let the walkers do the terrorizing for him.
Yeah, basically.
But I do think, and maybe this closes the book on it just a little bit. I mean, and we can dissect it, but I do find the turning of the tables quite interesting because it does. Okay, so I want to talk about Negan's point because there's something that he says it in such a way that it makes us almost forget what actually happened. And it's like what you said. And I love the way he put it because it's like, it's the story of America. It's the story of time immemorial. Like, it's your job as a man to protect what's yours. It's not, but the problem is that that's not what the Saviors did.
No.
Right.
They took.
No, they did extortion.
Yeah.
And racketeering.
Yeah. I mean, they could, and that's the thing. If they made it, they pawned it off. Is it like, we're going to be benevolent here and just take half your shit,
Yeah.
And if you don't, we'll take all your shit.
Yeah.
Well, they were also in the mindset that everything was theirs, right?
Right, right. Like manifest destiny. Yeah.
Right.
They're not taking half of someone else's shit. They're just taking half of their own shit back.
Yeah, exactly.
Although I do remember towards the end of the War with the Savior, during one of the Negan Rick confrontations, that he tried to make a deal with Rick and was like, look, we can stop this right now. And instead of you give us half of your shit, 25%. He told them you make out like 75% kings, which is pretty attractive. Pretty attractive offer.
No thanks, scumbag. So
I just love the negotiation.
Oh yeah, that was during the that was during the failed firefight.
Yes, the failed firefight. Yes.
Which again, is Negan worth his weight in promises, right? There's no proof of that. Oh, okay, we got 3 minutes to go, but 2.5 minutes on the Instagram. But yeah, and even talking about it now, I can see a world in which you can make the argument that no. The Saviors do what the Saviors do, just like anybody else would do, and it's your job to protect what you have, or else it belongs to someone else. So. No. So even though they come to take, let's say, it's your job to make sure they don't take it, right? So not like I agree with this. Like, okay, but you can protect what's yours without taking from somebody else, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even though there are things in life which will... Okay, well, I guess we have to restart the Instagram stream. Silence. The cone of silence begins. Oh, yeah. This commercial break brought to you by nobody, because we are not accepting advertising. We don't have the audience. just being honest with you folks. Just being honest. Avi Firestein's being honest. Okay, and begins streams. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm just going to refresh it. Let's do info. Okay. Let's see that again. Okay. All right. Looks like you guys are back. Okay. What happened? Exactly what happened. We reached the hour mark, folks. So, yeah. So the to cap this off with the Negan thing was there's a world in which you can see things from Negan's point of view. If it wouldn't be the Saviors, it'd be somebody else, right? So, but I do think that. To be perfectly fair, you can protect what's yours without having to take from somebody else. And even though there are times in our lives where sometimes you have to make the choice of protecting your family and actually taking from somebody else. There are various things in life that will make you make a decision. Okay, if I take this or take advantage of this, there won't be anything left for somebody else. Whether it's something that will be out of stock when you take it in an online store or something else, like the food pantry, depending on your circumstance. There's, in some respects, we live in a world of scarcity, and in others, not really. Mostly not really. We live in a pretty good age, but especially in the world of the apocalypse, like that scarcity is real.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving along. Hi to see. By the way, little shout outs to Millie the Jug, and obviously Thorgon9, who gave us that really cool prison idea that we could expand on. Walani, obviously, Miss Mazel, who I think will pop on in a minute, who was on there at least. And yeah, Polly, what's up? But I do, so that's squashed, but I like how the tables turn because in a sense Negan becomes right. Like, you think you're going to make me submit?
Well, I just like the fact that at the very end, it's like, you know, he wakes up the next day and Negan asks him, like, can you see me? And Aaron goes, yes.
Those choice of words.
And that is the point. You can see him. Can you see him? You finally are seeing him for who he is, which is like, he stayed up and was watched at night when you were temporarily blinded and could not see, and saved your life. And he's finally seeing him for who he is at this moment. I'm not saying.
There you go. At the moment.
Both the
at
light
that
and the
moment.
dark.
At that moment, I'm not saying that he's an angel. Disclaimer. You know, obviously, you all know I'm the biggest Negan apologist.
Yeah.
But at this
and
moment,
knowing that,
right? But
I readjust my dials. By the way,
right.
Big shout out to Markice Moore, who just popped on. By the way, one of my favorite prisoners from that era of The Walking Dead. So say hello, folks.
Hey.
Yeah, and Miss Mazel, of course, just popped on too.
Hello.
Hi. I'm just kidding. Like, she knows I love her the most. But yeah, man. Yeah, so we'll be going strong, pretty much. So, and speaking of prisoners, Negan, but yeah, the reversal, can you see me now? Good. Like he's like the Verizon guy of the apocalypse. Or now the Sprint guy. Who knows now? with their 5G services. That was not an advertisement. But I do, one thing that you do notice is that, like you said, the crowbar is in his hand. It's like, okay, you pushed me too far, and now I have this, and you can't stop me. So how about that?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, do you think that Aaron is going to get the message going forward? Or, because I mean, there is that element of paranoia, who's the enemy, who's not, etc. You know what I'm saying? So it's...
I think I think that it's a situation that he'll keep in the back of his mind. Like, I think he'll always be wary of Negan. I think they'll always be wary of him. But I think that he now has this frame of reference of this incident to kind of better inform him for future situations as they get more into it with the whispers, you know. Yeah. I think that that'll be something he'll keep in the back of his head.
Right. Well, because there's one thing that you may not have caught also. It seems to me that Aaron didn't realize that Negan was sitting there the whole time. You know, before Negan found him and dispatched the walkers.
Yeah, no, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think.
Oh, no.
And it's good that he doesn't. But you know, that's the thing. Like,
that would have gone a lot of different.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, in his mind, and that's the thing. That's what really is kind of concerning about Negan right now. It's kind of like, where is this going to go? Right. You know, where is this going to happen? Right.
No.
So is this going to be something that pops up every now and again in the same manner?
Yeah.
Because we had these impressions of him before, and now we don't know. Negan be Negan. Negan be Neganing.
I would always keep a side eye on him, though, because I think given the chance, he's, you know, I say the same thing about Strand, too. Wrong show. But, you know, if given the chance, they're going to slip back into their old ways.
Or just be like, I'm going to take this shit over again.
I mean, if he saw an opportunity, I think he would.
Who said that? I forgot. Somebody said, like, I think it was Thorgon. Like, always, Negan is going to try to find a way to get to leadership again. He said something like that to that effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this would be the way to do it, is by first gaining everyone's trust.
Yeah. Like leveraging people's emotions to kind of get them to trust them again.
And especially Aaron, right? Because Aaron is very influential. If Negan can gain Aaron's trust, Aaron's going to go back and say, hey, guys, listen to what Negan just did for me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, out of everybody, would you classify him as the toughest cookie, right?
Aaron?
Yeah.
No, Daryl's the toughest cookie.
I would say
over. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like they're coming to, I think they actually come to blows maybe at some point.
They definitely have a confrontation.
In the teaser or something.
Aaron and Daryl?
Yeah,
Negan and
Daryl.
Yeah, okay, no, that makes sense.
And keep in mind that when they do, he's behind bars too.
Yes.
So it's not as if he has free reign, but
No. Yeah. And he's not winning Daryl over anytime soon. That ain't happening.
I mean, who knows?
Daryl went through some shit at the same time.
And look how the tables have turned there too.
Yeah.
We're not on easy street anymore, motherfucker. Anyway, and then just in the nick of time, Nisa's like, yeah, but I'm still Team Negan. I'm Negan. Anyway, whatever. Anyway, we're moving along. It's getting a little too hot. We got to change the subject, bitches.
I hear you.
I just like how this played out because it does show like what was intended and what ended up happening.
Yes.
So, yeah. And now I call it this section Border Crew. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think we can knock this out pretty well. I do love that it's night when we meet Alpha. It kind of shows the differences in tone between the rest of the episode and now, because it's the only. Well, this crew is the only crew that, I mean, even though they work through the night, they really kind of mostly show this scene in the dark. Other than Rosita and Eugene. But it's spooky. It's creepy. It's right around Halloween, which they timed really, really, really well. So, now there's one thing I want to kind of focus on, and that is. Well, let me mention this one thing first. Okay, dudes, when you say, because we just got this episode about how the Whisperers came to be, and then we have this new appreciation when Alpha creeps into the scenery. She's creeping in like a walker almost, like just slithering onto the scene. And the second she pops off her mask, she turns into a normal, upright human being and walking normally. And so you get this appreciation for like what they put into the character, like that you may not have noticed before, and maybe you notice now. And I just love that.
No, I always have, and I feel like I noticed it from like the very beginning when they were really introduced in the season finale. Last season, in the episode where like Jesus is killed, like that scene when like they're watching the herd and they're like, it doesn't seem normal, like they're just kind of milling around, and you see that one scene of that one, like, well, now we know Whisper, who like all of a sudden kind of like stops, lifts their head, and like, kind of, like it's very eerie, like how they kind of like blend in, and then all of a sudden you realize, no, it's like it's a person. So it's very. It's very seamless and very, very creepy, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
How it's done.
But like, it's just the idea of being the walker, and then but it's just the idea of taking off the mask and becoming a human again. Right. It's almost like this weird transformation that goes on. But what highlights that is that she goes into the thing about rules and laws, which like. When she bounces back and forth between nature and fire is nature and fire burns and then but then talking about laws as a human. They don't have any conflict
with nature.
Yeah, we have no conflict with nature. But like the idea of talking about laws like as a human who makes mistakes, obviously. And who's jittery and who's very animated.
So excited.
But I just love that, like, if you notice it's there, and it's like, okay, I come to you as a natural being talking about laws. I'm trying to meet you at your level. I don't know your ways anymore. But okay, anyway, let me move on because I'm just making myself crazy. But then we go into this one thing that I kind of want to talk about a little bit more, but I don't really know what to make of it because I genuinely want to know from you guys, and that's how does... I can see how she might know that they crossed their land in winter, that they crossed their land during the fire. But what this, the man with the metal arm, you and the man with the metal arm, and I'm assuming she's talking about Michonne. When was that? Right?
When they were on horseback?
By the river.
But by the river. But I didn't think that was their land.
Did they watch Fear the Walking Dead? No, I'm kidding. Sorry.
I thought there was when Aaron, because it was right after they found the mask and they were going to go out on patrol and look for other signs. Yeah. But I didn't think they ever crossed.
And the man specifically the man with the metal arm and her.
Right.
Wait a minute. Okay, sorry. I do remember. It was the bridge, and Michonne was saying, "Thank you for that."
Oh, when he
doing something stupid.
When he did something stupid.
Yeah. Well, the bridge was the dividing line.
Yes, that is true. Yes, you're right. Because I remember like her coming down on him and being like, "Well, that was stupid," and
stupid gets you killed or something.
Yeah.
Okay. And she screamed, "Watch their hands," because they could have been whisperers.
Yeah.
Right. Or they could have been among them. Right. So I think that just helped a whole bunch of people who were kind of maybe confused about that. Because I was confused about that for a second.
I was too.
Yeah.
I was too.
I think probably Walker Stalker did that to us because like I completely forgot that scene. I mean, I remember that scene, but not as that being the border or whatnot. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, good on us. Meanwhile, everybody's talking about predictions and also secret predictions and meetings in Sonoya in the Instagram chat, which I'm happy it's bubbling, but I'm losing track. I will give you all hugs. I promise you, I'm a hugger. Wait, give me a second to look at what's going on here because oh my God, Eliza Jones just joined us on the chat too.
Eliza,
oh my God, I miss her. What I was gonna say, I miss her ass. Okay, let me just rewind and not say that. There's things that come out of my mouth that just does not have any check. And like who's killing who? Like the obvious Carol kills Alpha for sure. Yeah, sure. Lydia helps out. Negan saves Daryl from Beta theories.
That's a popular theory,
like
yeah.
Yeah. And whatever.
I feel like it's almost becoming too popular.
I know, like, that's what kills me.
I want to see it, but I feel like, man, not like even if they had that whole scene filmed now, they probably would have went back and just threw it out and started over. Like, damn you fans, you're too good. Like now we have to rewrite it.
Yeah, I mean, most of us have predicted that. Oh, Joe, for sure, Carol's gonna win this. Gonna kill Alpha. But I don't know. I really don't.
Oh man. Well,
at this point, it wouldn't surprise me if like it ends up being like the comic, because that would be the most unexpected thing to happen, right? If you think about it,
I think so.
You're right. Like if it went the route of the comics, that actually would be more unexpected than all the other theories.
Especially if it comes from the rear, like we don't see it coming because of the way Negan's trajectory is kind of working right now. Good guy, and then sneaky wants to be the leader, and then he kind of makes a total revolution or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. On the Z-axis of predictions. But anyway, so... okay, we beat that motherfucker to death. Again, this is what we do. Sorry. Not sorry. Okay, so Carol's behavior. Can you guys lead this discussion? Because... here's the thing. I want to preface this with one thing. It was this weird explosion on Twitter where, and I don't know if this is briefly or whatnot, but people really, really had visceral reactions to Carol, which prompted the Carolers, Caryl, people who usually love Daryl and Carol, etc., you know what I'm saying, to like really vigorously defend Carol, which, I mean, that's not necessary, I don't think, but I think people were really, really upset with Carol in this episode. They
were upset with her?
Yeah, for the most part. With her? Yeah.
Why?
Like, fucking Carol, because being,
love her.
Knowing better than, because people, I don't know what it is with, I think when
but
you have
why? Because of her reaction at the Pikes of what she did.
Oh, that and a whole bunch of things. Being really, really irresponsible throughout the episode, like endangering her crew.
But the thing is, it's that she's
I'm not saying
acting,
I am, but...
No. But it's like, in my mind, she's basically acting as somebody who's still pretty much shell-shocked from, like... I mean, we know Sadiq is shell-shocked. He has his own PTSD. Well, Carol has her own PTSD, too.
Everyone does.
She's... everyone does, and everyone is kind of reacting in their own way. In her way, she's just kind of single-handedly focused on, like, revenge. And even, Daryl says it's like she's up at night, like, looking for them. Like, she's just sort of like on this, like, quest. And it's true. It's not responsible. It's not.
Well, and then Daryl mentions that one thing about how, she was way more at peace when she was on the boat. And all of a sudden, the second she stepped off, it just, something happened. Yeah.
Because
everything became real again.
Yeah.
When she was on the boat, she could forget about it and kind of, compartmentalize everything. And as soon as she got back, it was real again. And these people who killed her son are still a real threat. And she wants to do something about it. And I mean, I can understand that. I guess if I'm not even going to say negative, but if there's one thing I'm disappointed in is she's usually a little bit more clear-headed. I feel like she's acting a little bit more on emotion and less thought. But I can't say I blame her either. I feel it.
I always wonder about her character. I don't always find her character thinking always clear-headedly.
See, I think she's always got a plan. I mean,
right. Yeah.
There's
a difference between having a plan and it being a one that is, because, okay, and I don't want to go back in time too much, but like it does make me think of when they stayed in the prison and doing what she thought was right over what the consensus would be. Or even in Alexandria, she kind of had her own plan, moving off and wanting to be alone while everybody else wanted her to be around and they'd bring her closer. And she's always had her own plan, And even like to the point where like when she probably should have stayed with Ezekiel. I mean, and again, I'm not saying one way or the other, but like when you think about it, the thing that she should have done is be alone with her. Be together, heal together, move on together. Or she could have done. But like instead she chose to, again, run away, be by herself, which is, in a way, it's kind of a regression. But then again, I mean, I'm not one to judge. I'm not one to say that I've ever been in this situation before. I'm not the one to say this is the proper response for when your son dies, So, but it does show a pattern of behavior that we have seen before. And so we have a lot of impressions about Carol that, are being tested. We have to kind of really kind of re-examine, okay, who is this person? We love her and we respect her a lot for her growth, but she's always been a certain way. Do you know what I mean? And I think we're still trying to figure out who she is. And now she's kind of not dealing with this very well.
I will say, we are used to kind of seeing her, run away a little bit when things, when she needs to kind of clear her head and things get to be too much. But I will say, I noted last episode, at least this time when she wanted to run away, she invited Daryl. So it wasn't all about solitary. And so I feel like just that little bit is a bit of growth for her character too, like not being totally closed out, closing everybody out. This time she wants company.
Right. Well, yeah. Or does she? I mean, like Michonne was saying, like, she belongs with us, and then Daryl's like, I don't know, like, which I mean, in that respect, you kind of look at the two different friends, and you see kind of like reflections of Rick and Michonne. By the way, like Michonne is always like, we got to get together, we got to, be as one. And you see that in Michonne, but then you see Daryl's kind of like, well, I trust her, she'll find her own way. And by the way, bye Thorgon. I know it's late for you.
Oh yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. So you do see the two different types of friends in those two. And in some respects, when you're looking through the episode, you're angry almost at both of them at different times. Like at Michonne, like holding on tightly and that Daryl holding on too loosely. Because I mean, you see Daryl's like watching her take these pills and it's like, stop taking that. Yeah, or I'll beat your ass. He should have said after that, but he didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's hard because I mean Carol's such a strong-willed character that like, you know, he's downright gentle with her, you know, like in his approach to how he says things to her, and he treads very carefully when it comes to things that he says, you know, to her. And because I guess, you know, he knows that she's very strong-willed and she's going to do what she wants to do. So the only thing he can say is like, you know, stop taking that, like get some sleep, you know. But I mean, short of like trying to rip it out of her hand.
Yeah, but there is a difference though. And by the way, before I get to that, Zora Aesthetics, good luck on that test tomorrow. Sorry you had to go. But thank you for sticking around and giving us so many likes. But I do want to get to this one point, and that's, so there's a difference between letting her take the things and then letting her keep watch for another hour. Because it's like, okay, you can take the pills, but you need to go there in the corner and have your little drug addicted, whatever it is that floats your fancy, while not taking watch.
Well, that's the other thing too. I mean, are there
putting
really
our lives in your hands
left over to have an addiction? I mean, she did run out.
I was thinking that too.
By the end of the episode, she ran out of the pills, which I assume was some sort of like, what did you assume it was? Like some sort of stimulant or like some sort of like...
they were caffeine pills.
It looked like Percocet though. Not that I would know.
Well, Angela Kang said they were caffeine pills, so I'm going to go with that.
Pills.
Which kept her up, which, you know, after so many days of non-sleep, first of all, your body will take it from you. And then second of all, you'll start seeing things, which just happened to me.
I concur.
We both know.
100%.
Have you ever had things? I haven't had one of those multiple days with no sleep until recently. I think I've even talked to you about that. Like, I remember that one night where I edited and went straight to work. By the end of the night, I was seeing things that weren't there and jumping at them. You're like, do you know what I mean? Like, you're doing it now. Am I on the podcast? What's going on?
You will start seeing things. Like, you definitely will, you know? But I found that whole sequence with her so interesting because it's exactly what you said, Rach. It's like, there were points where it's like, I wasn't necessarily sure if what I'm seeing is actually happening, or is this like a figment of like her imagination? It was sort of like, you know, what's really happening here? You know, like, so it was so jarring when it was like, because that conversation that she had with Daryl was so heartfelt about his father being the trucker and everything like that. It was such a heartfelt conversation. And then you find out it's like, no, none of that ever happened. That was all like a dream sequence. I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
Like,
right.
I totally believe that scene.
Oh, by the way, Eliza, good night. Sorry.
Good night, Eliza.
Thank you for hopping on though.
I totally bought that scene. I was like, oh my gosh, wow, you know, and then I was like, oh no, never mind. None of that happened.
And you both examined that scene multiple times, and it's like when you actually go back and watch that scene, it's like, wait, that actually doesn't sound like Daryl. Like, he's really smooth about it. He's talking about it very matter-of-factly. That's not Daryl. Daryl's mumbles and grumbles.
But not anymore, though.
Yeah. See, even the second time through, I thought, you know, if he was going to open up to anybody, of course, it would be her.
Right.
Like, it didn't strike me as odd that he was sharing something like that. Of course. Because it was her.
Yeah, but the first time around.
Yeah. No, I mean, even the second time, I'm like, because I was even paying more attention. I'm like, okay, now that I know it's a dream, like, is there something that could have given it away the first time? And I'm like, no, not really.
No, not to me.
Definitely not the first time.
Yeah.
Because I watched it twice.
Although I did really, the second time I watched it, I caught what he said at the end. And after he says, don't take that. And she's like, I can't sleep. And he's like, oh no, bad dreams. Like, while she was having a bad dream.
Having a bad dream. Yeah. That's true. That was cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't know. There's a couple of things. It's the tone in which he said it. It was just too, Daryl doesn't go on. It just, the character as we know it does not go into long rants. And he went into one. And I'm not saying that that's the way his character does, because we always want him to say more.
Yeah.
And we oh my God, we're finally getting to open up. So I'm not saying I was suspicious of that in first watch, but on the second watch, I'm like, oh wait, now, okay, this is definitely, no, this is not his modus operandi. Plus his father was a grade A piece of shit. So.
Well, yeah, right. But I felt it was necessary. Like he saw what was going on with her, and this was his way of saying, look, I know something's going on with you.
Right. It was, I looked at it as,
so he tells a story.
Right. I looked at that moment as his way of relating to her, the way Dante relates to Sadiq, talking to him about his PTSD after serving in Iraq. You know, it's like, you're kind of like, you're not prying from them, but you're sharing your own personal experience to let them know, like, it's not just you.
Right. You're not alone.
They're not alone.
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Meanwhile, and you know what? That's the funny thing about this entire scene. And that's, I think it was The Walking Dead by Valhalla, you know, that account on Twitter, who said, which of her hallucinations scared you the most? And to be perfectly freaking honest, as much as the visual ones were kind of terrifying, that one with Daryl scares me the most. A whole conversation to me that never happened really scares me.
Well, that
because
is
I've
very
had
jarring.
those before.
I agree with you in the sense that, like, it's scary, the idea of like this whole deep conversation never happened. Like the fact that you could be that delusional or that just out of it, that like you would have this whole sort of like dialogue, but none of it was like actualized, like none of it like, you know, actually happened.
Yeah, like if I was Carol, that would frighten me the most. That's all I mean. Yeah. Right.
I don't know. But the scenes with Henry and like mom and like, you know, like that's jarring. And all of that was definitely like
that one like physically scared me the most.
Like all those different things.
And she's about to get stabbed, and I'm like,
yeah, exactly. That was one of those. Like, oh my God. Yeah, that was one of those.
Look at all the different kinds of like terrifying hallucinations. Like they take different angles.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Too. Let's not forget the home ec book.
Which, by the way, it does bring us back. Yeah, the home ec book was, oh God, Mika, Lizzie, Henry,
Sophia,
Sam Anderson, Sophia.
Yeah.
All of those with their throats slit. Oh.
Yeah. I was like, oh, jeez.
God, how much work was that on the artist's point of view? But, God, man. But like, and then like, what's interesting about all of that, and I forgive me if I jump ahead. I want to jump ahead just to jump back. But when we get to like her dream, and this is post surgery or during surgery or whatever it is, when they're taking out the glass shard.
Right.
I want to point this out because on the one hand, it took me 2 episodes to kind of almost not say this, but I'm going to bring it out anyway, is that I wanted to give points to the carolers, the CARYLers, and say, interesting dream, this one, isn't it?
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that dream. Yeah. Let's talk about that because I was watching it with my husband Eddie, and he was like, we're watching the episode, and he's like, so interesting that Daryl is the figure in the kitchen cooking breakfast, the patriarch. Versus the fact that she basically raised Henry with Ezekiel. Ezekiel was the father that Henry always knew, you know, alongside with her. And meanwhile, like, this is the father. I mean, I was watching this and like he pointed that out and I was like, it's true. And also I was like thinking to myself, like on a side note, I was like, I'm sure that like Daryl / Norman Reedus lover were probably losing their shit. Like at a scene of like him in the kitchen cooking breakfast, they probably were like losing their goddamn minds.
I'm looking at Rachel this entire time right now. I want to see the little micro smiles and yeah. Oh boy.
I'm running out of
I see dimples. I see dimples on dimples actually. But I literally
a little bit.
I literally want to know what you think. And again, I want to reiterate that I was about to give points, but I want to give you the floor.
I
just can't give anybody an inch, but
I think it just confirmed what we've always known was in Carol's heart, and that's Daryl in the kitchen frying up some bacon.
Daryl can cook me some bacon anytime, or as Walani says, squirrel. Could be squirrel, bacon.
Yeah.
No, you need to say more than that.
It could be taken a lot. It could be taken a lot of different ways. I mean, there's
what was your reaction? I want to know.
I mean, excitement, of course. I was excited. I'm like, of course she loves him. I mean, this is, in a different world, in a different time, this could have been normal.
Oh.
Who knows?
Which, that is something actually. Like the idea of money, right?
I know that.
Right.
That was so jarring, wasn't it? Like I was like, oh my god, currency. Like, what's that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then she stops and looks at it for a minute, and you think, oh, this isn't right. But no, she's like, is the store open? Like she's still going with it, even.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I liked it, but that is a good point that Henry showed up, and Daryl's there, and it kind of made me feel bad for Ezekiel. That was another feeling.
Right?
Yeah, that he wasn't even there. Like,
no.
He could have been like at the door, like, hey, I'm here to pick up. I don't know. He could have been in there somewhere, but not even a fever dream.
Not even a cameo appearance, right? Nothing.
I felt bad, but I was mostly excited.
Don't worry, you'll see him in the next episode, by the way.
Cautiously so.
I will say one thing though, and this is why I'm gonna pull back credit that I was gonna give you. No, the reason for that is everything in that dream sequence makes sense from a purely dream-driven science. So you have Michonne's kitchen is what's being shown. This is what she's been dragged into, or through the kitchen upstairs to get the surgery and get the thing out, right? Mm-hmm. You have, when she looks at her watch, you have the handless clock, which is what she saw as she was going into the school.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You have Daryl, which is somebody who's been around lately to kind of be this comfort to her. Basically be her crutch. Essentially, from the time that Henry died, I just need you to rely on. Okay. Yeah. And what better is somebody than a kind of you could even look at him as a father figure in some ways, or a brother figure. And I'm not saying that to be deliberately an asshole or contrarian, but we'll get in the idea of food as being a provider. This could be a lot of meanings. And then Henry being there is that thing that jerks her back into reality, right?
Yeah.
And the idea of money is, it's just having the money is this idea of complete fantasy, of complete detachment from her current reality, which is Henry, which brings her right back. And so a lot of what's going on in this episode, a lot of her hallucinations, well, we can't really confirm the whispers that were in the forest. By the way, I counted the bullet shots too.
Yeah.
And it was 3. I thought it was more. Yeah. Which kind of signaled, she's hallucination. But that sound that the tables made as the rope pulled her up, what did sound like a shot, it wasn't a shot. So it was 3 bullets. 1 in the forest, obviously 1 at Alpha's feet.
Alpha.
Which we didn't really talk about, but I forgive you. That was
mother
bizarre.
To mother.
And then the second one in the forest, and actually the third one I think is the one that shot what was an actual whisper. Which we should talk about. Yes. But but I that's the reason why I still think you guys, you guys, you people, the carolers, I do think you get a half a point at least, because you guys have been waiting so long to get some nugget. I will give you half a nugget, because I'm the worst. Just gonna say this. I'm the worst.
The whole show is gonna end with those two finally getting together. Last
the other half
minute,
last scene. That'll be it.
Second,
well, it takes 2 half nuggets to make a whole. Really, come on. And then you get Henry. No, I'm kidding. No, yeah. So I'll give you half a nugget, and that's what kills me, is that there's so many mechanics in that dream sequence that kind of make it, oh wait, dreams are like basically an amalgam of what you see throughout the day or the days that you've been up. So that's what kills me. It's like, I do want to give you that whole point. I do. I so desperately do. I really did. I watched them like, oh my God, I'm going to have to deal with this on the next podcast.
Just throw us a bone.
Yeah, I was gonna. And so I'll give you half a bone. I hope you're happy with that. That's all I'm going to say.
I was very pleased with that scene.
But that scene was really cool also. Like, it was very cool. Between the mechanics and just like, oh my God, post-apocalypse money and whatever.
What was it? Do we know what song was it that was playing?
Oh, fuck.
I do know what song it was playing. It
was the Zombies, right?
No, well, I don't know what my captions told me.
Yeah, I heard it was the Zombies, the band, the Zombies.
Care of Cell 44 by Elliott Smith.
Oh, what?
Elliott Smith, how appropriate.
What were the lyrics?
But when I tried to look it up, I couldn't find much more on it. So I didn't try super hard either. So if I put in a little bit more effort, I could probably. I usually like to do a deep dive on the songs that they use in the show, because it almost always has meaning and relevancy to what's going on, either the lyrics or the meaning of the song. But unfortunately, I didn't look too much further into this one. I failed. I said, sorry.
I might be able to find it now. I'm super Googling this shit. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it is the Zombies. The Zombies, Care of Cell 44. So it's by the Zombies, not Elliott Smith. But maybe it's the same. I know the Zombies is an old band.
Maybe he did a different version.
Maybe he did a cover.
Well, yeah, and that makes sense. God.
I just took what my captions said.
God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Wait, let's get the lyrics now, because I'm gonna super Google this.
I'll bet they're relevant.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Good morning to you. I hope you're feeling better, baby. Thinking of me while you're far away. Counting the days until maybe get 3/4 bone. I'm kidding. Counting the days until they set you free again. Maybe this is about Negan. Writing this letter, hoping you're okay. Sent to the room you used to stay in every Sunday. The one that is swarmed by sunshine every day. And we'll get to know each other for a second time. All right, 80% of a bone. No, just the tip.
This sounds like someone who's in prison.
And we'll get to know each other for a second time. And you can tell me about your prison stay.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Boom.
Feels so good. And this is the chorus. Feels so good. You're coming home soon. It's gonna be good to have you back again with me, watching the laughter play around your eyes. Daryl's eyes. Come up and get you saved up for the train fare money. Feels so good. You're coming home soon. Walking the way we used to walk, and it could be so nice. Talking the way we used to talk, and it could be so nice. It's gonna be nice to have you back again with me, watching the laughter play around your eyes. Come up and get you saved up for the train fare money. Kiss and make up, and it'll be so nice. So it sounds like this is like a fight. Like this is like they've broken up. It looks like, and it looks like she's delusionally thinking he's gonna come back. Or he, or whoever it is. Feels so good you're coming home soon. So it could be like one of those things where like, and the song is Care of Cell 44. So like having been in prison for so long. That is really sad. And I bet it's a happy song, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, if it's a delusion.
Well, I mean, then it's apropos.
Yeah.
Apropos of nothing, you lose all your points. Kidding.
I don't know. It makes a lot more sense. So I mean, Carol and Ezekiel broke up, and now she's finding her way back to Daryl, and
I already took back the nugget. Yeah. Okay, I'm kidding. No, I will say one thing.
I still don't know how I feel about that though. Like I don't even know if I consider myself 100% Carol, or just because
you always will be a little bit.
I do think that there's love there. I just think that it's a love that's beyond just basic romantic. Like it's such a cop out to just be like, oh yeah, and they hook up or whatever. I'm like, no, it's more than that.
If they ever cross that romantic line, I think it would take away from Daryl's character mostly.
Right. It would cheapen the nature of their relationship.
I agree.
Well, who knows what could happen? I mean, even I'll say that, but I will say that
the idea of what if is always exciting too. Once you know, it's like wah wah.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, we always want the what if.
It's classic game theory, guys. It's like it's whatever gets you to keep pulling that slot, right?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. As soon as you win, it's like, okay.
All right, I'm over it now.
Well, yeah, I guess there's no point of playing this anymore.
Right.
Yeah, but I will say, like, it's a very interesting thing to kind of see how that kind of reflects normal life and how, like, some people will get locked into something. Like on a serious note, I do feel like there's a part of Carol that is sick of her feeling grief. Like,
sure.
The cage is grief, and she wants out. It's kind of like Negan. Negan is in a cage, and he wants out. You know? There's like these two people who are sick of being who they are, and yet they are who they are. They are where they are. They're in the state that they're in, and they cannot do anything about it. They just need to go through it. And I did write it. It's funny. I wrote and actually talked about a song I wrote. I'm not going to play it. I might link to it in the notes. I don't know. But it deals with something. It deals with abuse. And one of the things I say at the end of the song is, you know, I hate feeling so weak. I hate feeling so helpless. I hate feeling so, feeling so helpless, feeling so human. I hate, oh God, I can't remember my own lyrics. I could sing them, but I hate this hating, and I'm tired of waiting. You know, like, so there's like, you get to the point where it's like, I hate hating. Like, I hate, you know what I mean? Like, I hate having to hate.
Yeah.
But, you know, and then, I'm tired of waiting. So like, it's like when you're in this spot, you feel so helpless, you know, but you just got to get through it. You got to go through it, you know, to be this, whatever you're going to be at the end of it. But, you know, and so I see that, and it's really like, it's frustrating. And that, it kind of brings me back to the fans that actually had these, criticisms about Carol, because I don't think they understand. And even I didn't for a second. Like, I was more critical of Daryl letting her take that last hour of watch. Like, I mean, dude, it's one thing if they want another drink, but it's another giving the keys to the car. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So fuck you guys who didn't criticize Daryl. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, okay, don't blame that's sexism.
Where did he go up to? I mean, did he necessarily? I mean,
I think that they just went and napped.
How do we know he wasn't also keeping watch?
Oh, I don't even know how much time this whole thing took place, right? Like 4 hours, maybe? Who knows?
I have no idea. When Carol popped her last pill and she saw that shadow scurry off, my first thought was,
right away.
I thought it was another dream.
I really was convinced that it was a dream. I was just like, is this really happening? Especially
you might even say the same thing. Yeah. Especially when she's standing in it looks
in
like
the gym with all those dead walkers, right?
And the alarm goes off. Yes. And then we hear the alarm go off.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Where was that? Like,
in the other room.
I totally thought that was another dream.
That was so jarring to me. That moment seemed so surreal, where she's just standing all of a sudden in this auditorium with all these dead walkers, and the alarm goes off. I'm like, so wait, did this happen?
Yeah.
Or like, and then we come to realize, it happened, but it's like, that was so, it was so vague to me that I was like, I wasn't quite sure at the time.
Same.
I wasn't sure.
Same.
Right. And you have to, and it could have been just that, because she did set the alarm before she saw this shadow scurry, and so maybe by the time she was done slaughtering all of them, it went off, alerted everybody else. They ran into the other room, blah blah blah. Okay. So, that's how I surmise it, and I know that the rope was real, because I did see it behind the blackboard. Like it was kind of right behind the blackboard, the rope that hoisted her. Yeah. So I know that that's real. We know that it's real because of the walker, Whisperer turned walker at the end.
Right.
Whom she had gotten a good shot of.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's okay. The fact that for a second, not even for a second, maybe not even till now, that we weren't really even sure ourselves after we saw some of the evidence is just, it says a lot. So congrats to how that went down.
Yeah, good on them, how they did it.
Yeah.
After I was convinced that it all actually happened, then I started thinking, was that a trap specifically set for Carol. Like this was Alpha's way of coming after Carol personally.
Oh man, that is a really fucking good question. Because I had thought that too. I'm like, how?
This was after she took a shot at her.
Yes, it was.
So okay, so maybe, so then what that does is allow us to go back in time and say, were they really in the forest? Right.
I mean, I believe they were.
Right.
Yeah.
I think they're always watching. They are always watching. They said that.
Yeah.
So I do believe they were there.
Yeah.
Right. Because they may move like whispers, but they still have faculties, you know?
Right.
Sorry, they may move like walkers, I meant.
Walkers,
Right. Yeah.
But then they know, they have sense enough to not trip any branches, etc., etc. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, look at how the other dude moved. He dodged that sword that Jesus was wielding in the cemetery.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ooh, he got them slick moves.
Aw.
oh man, that whole scene just makes my belly
R.I.P.
hurt all over again.
And Miss
I
Mazel
know.
agrees with you. Alpha was taunting Carol big time.
Yeah, that's once I realized it really happened, that I thought it was a personal attack on Carol.
Yeah. Basically goes back to the beginning premise, or maybe Judith's premise. I'm not going to take credit for this one, but like, well, I could take credit. Fuck you. It goes back to the idea of wearing. Oh, kind of like what you said about Negan. Who's going to be the biggest one you're going to want to flip? Well, the one who criticizes you the most, Aaron. Let's say, like, in terms of pressure and who to win over. Forget Daryl for a moment, because who cares? But then it goes also to like, what is Alpha's biggest stumbling block? You know, like who is the one she's got to get off kilter the most? And that's definitely the woman whose son you killed in the last season.
Yeah.
So and Walani, by the way, said what did and didn't happen was confusing me the whole episode. It's like shades of Rick again.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I think somebody had mentioned, I think it was Milani, it was like the Laurie kind of idea.
I thought that too.
Yeah.
The Laurie prison sort of like
sleep deprivation warfare.
Uh-huh.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, he was losing it.
Answer the phone. Answer the telephone, Rick. Answer the phone.
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah, I remember that.
He took that damn phone everywhere with. Oh wait, that was the comics. Yeah, no, he did though. He took his damn phone everywhere.
I did not know that, but now it's in my head. Hello, Laurie. I was like waiting for her to call back again. Yeah. Oh, okay. Now I'll say what your husband said. Negan sat in the dark watching Aaron struggle when he was blind, like he was Arnold Schwarzenegger watching Jamie Lee Curtis in the dark from that scene in True Lies.
Oh my god.
I have to say, I don't know. I don't remember how old I was in terms of like sexual awareness, but that was really hot. When I was a kid. Jamie Lee Curtis dancing half naked in front of her own husband character. Yeah, that was something else. Talk about good traditional values.
Right?
Wholesome.
Yeah, a good way to trick you into traditional values. Anyway, by using sex. And he also said the next episode, everyone comes down from their hogweed, quote unquote, cookies.
Oh, yeah.
And nothing is real. Then Chris Jericho shows up.
Oh, nice.
That's funny.
That's hilarious.
He was on Talking Dead.
I didn't realize he was a fan.
He was on.
He's been on before too.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's a big fan.
Go figure.
By the way,
I wrote in and asked him a few questions, but he didn't answer them.
Sons of bitches.
You son of a bitch.
Speaking of showing up on Talking Dead, Eliza. I wish I'd congratulated her when she was on the stream. I don't.
She was here.
Eliza Jones. Is it 86? No, let me just do a little scroll back. Eliza _Jones 86 on Instagram. She does a really good Carol cosplay, and hers showed up during the winter season. The winter episode showed up on Talking Dead. And so we all lost our goddamn, because we were away.
Yeah.
You know, we're all coming back from Walker Stalker. We see this afterwards, and we're like, "Oh my fucking god!" and like we're just congratulating her, and it's like, "Oh my god!" And what were you saying? What'd you say?
That was awesome.
Yeah. So awesome. So crazy.
I love it when people I know I see up there.
Yeah,
like Sarah's art has been up there too.
More than one occasion too, I think.
I'm pretty sure I want to say at least twice. That I know of. Yeah.
I get so excited.
I get so excited. I know, right? Like,
I know that person.
Yeah, like they're a part of this family.
She's like an extended cousin.
Yes.
It's like, can I marry her?
Wait a minute.
That took a turn. What?
So,
what? Okay, moving along. That's only because I'm watching Big Mouth and that, whatever. Anyway, and if you haven't watched Big Mouth, I recommend it.
I second that.
Yeah, there's a thing about cousins. Anyway, moving along.
Oh, you're on that episode.
Well, okay. I got past that episode, but it comes back. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we get to Alexandria, and a whole bunch of things kind of happen there. Not too many things, but not too many things in great detail. But obviously, let's get the Eugene Rosita thing out of the way, because I kind of want to get your gauge on what that was all about.
I don't know. I was thinking that maybe the thing with Eugene, I'm thinking maybe it will propel him to not necessarily look back when it comes down to inquiring who's on the other side of the ham radio, because like there will be eventually a group that is going to venture out and find out who is on the other side of this ham radio. Like, it's going to happen, you know. There is basis in the comic book for it, not to give any spoilers or whatever. And Eugene's character, being that he is Eugenius, and I love that. And like the tech wizard, like he's kind of at the forefront of that. So I think this whole thing is kind of like a blessing in disguise, because it's like, look, for as much as you may do for Rosita, taking care of the baby and all of that, you're not the father and you're not the husband and you're not going to be the love interest. So just, you know, put your efforts and energy elsewhere, because it's not going to lead to anything here. Sorry to say, like, it's just not, you know, and it's like a hard, bitter pill to swallow, but maybe it's what's going to help propel him to do something better than what he's doing right now, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What was it about this interaction that made him finally realize that? Because he's been told before.
I think she was much more blunt and louder this time.
Yeah, because other times she's been kind of curt, like, you know, just kind of like drop it, or like, you know, kind of like just sort of, that you could kind of
sort of brushed it off.
Yeah, that you could kind of take it as like, oh, she's just, you know, she's just that way. She's just a little, you know, rough around the edges, you know, like you could kind of like sort of like explain it off or whatever, you know. Whereas this time around, she was kind of very clear about like, look, you know, you have no role in this whole dynamic.
Yeah, she's always found a way to kind of turn it, like, to get them to not talk about it. Maybe you're right about that.
Yeah.
You were gonna say something, Rachel.
To kind of drop the subject.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for her to say he's not involved, he has no part, I'm not so sure that that's fair. I mean, he definitely has involvement in Coco's life, and if he were to just kind of drop everything and walk away, I think she'd be pretty upset about that too. Although I would like to see that, because I think she would immediately kind of turn around and be like, but wait a minute. Wait.
Well, because the reality is, like, he is the only one who is helping out. She's been busy kickboxing, and like, you know, the father. I mean, she has, Father Gabriel seems to be kind of doing his own thing. Sadiq is dealing with his, like, you know, PTSD. Really, Eugene's been the only one who really has been consistently like with that like child, you know. So
yeah.
I mean, it's a shame because it's like, you got to give the guy credit where it's due. Like,
yes.
But on the other hand, she does kind of say, like, when he's sort of like, oh, like there's nothing, between us or whatever, she sort of gets offended and kind of, brings up the point, like, so our friendship is like crap.
And he agrees with that.
That was especially heartbreaking, though. Like,
but it is true, because it's like, does our friendship mean nothing then? Like, if it's not romance, then basically this is, like the friendship is.
Yeah. And he says yes.
And I think that's a harsher reality for her too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like this whole friendship exists because he thinks he can make her fall in love with him.
Like it's predicated, right? Like there's a foundation that's missing in normal friendships.
Right.
That's what he says.
But do you think he's right?
Basically. I mean, in his case, sure. He went into this with an idea of how he wanted it to end, and it's not going to happen.
No.
At least not how he wants it to.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And I mean, does it really just boil down to like tough luck for both of them? Like, I mean, because I can see somebody arguing the fact that like maybe Eugene is just being dramatic, and maybe they do have a friendship. He just has to kind of crawl his way back and accept that, or maybe he is right, and maybe the fact that the foundation or the bedrock of their friendship was built on kind of a shaky one, like on loose earth, right?
It could have started out that way, but I think they definitely have a real friendship now. I don't think it would be fair to totally throw everything away, but at the same time, how could he really be around her feeling the way that he does and have to watch her with Gabriel or whoever's next, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How could he do that knowing he's totally in love with her? I mean, I would have to distance myself in a situation like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it shows a lot of maturity on his part too, though. In a way, he's kind of noble in that. He's always been kind of noble in that respect, except for like and that was way in the beginning. I mean, look at the dynamic in his character that's changed over the course of several years. Like, I feel like he's kind of turning into the Eugene from the comic, in the sense where like he has integrity to the point where he can't honestly say he's friends with someone until he really means it. Like, there's got to be something predicated on that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't think that he is quite there yet to the comic level. But I think that this is a necessary roadblock to help propel him to maybe becoming more that person.
Right.
Right. Like to kind of shed this sort of like, just completely like unhitch your wagon to this thought. You know what I mean? Like to this hope that this is going to happen, and just free yourself from that.
Oh, I gotta
and kind of
keep going.
Move forward. Yeah, it's a bitter pill, but
and he and Rosita are together in the comics, and so that plays a part in his character development as well. So since that's not happening, obviously he's gonna be a little bit different.
Yeah.
And not only are they in a relationship, we know she gets piked in the comics too.
Right.
So that's totally a catalyst for So I mean, yeah, I think we're on the way to seeing comic book Eugene, but I think the only difference right now is, is he capable of really being a leader at this point?
Yeah.
I don't think he's quite there just yet. On his way, but not quite.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Okay. So I think we've beaten that horse to death too.
Good. Oops. Good coverage.
So I don't really want to focus on Michonne and Sadiq, because I do think they bring up, being parents and not getting sleep.
Such a small conversation.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But that whole Dante and Sadiq thing. Like,
I could go on.
All right, I give you the floor, my dear, because that I'm feeling the same Bojangles and the Jingles as you are a little.
I don't know how many people are going to agree with me though.
Oh,
so we all heard Angela Kang say that Dante is not necessarily going to be a love interest for Maggie.
BS.
I think he's going to be somebody's love interest.
Sorry. Bullshit.
Oh, that was so immediate and so forceful. You're like Gamma talking to Alexandria. Her.
It's happening. Sorry.
Sometimes shit like this happens on the show.
It's happening. I've already envisioned it. It's happening. It will happen.
Wait, no. Sorry. Now let's let Rachael finish her thought in spite of how hilarious that was just now.
Sorry.
What are you feeling, Rachael?
I'm feeling a little something between Dante and Siddiq there.
You think?
I haven't really made up my mind.
I mean, I don't know if it's reciprocal, but I feel like Dante's, looking at Siddiq a certain way.
Oh, I blame myself. I blame myself because I mentioned something in the first episode, and I really shouldn't have. And it was a fanfic drawing by something Prettier on Instagram. I can't remember, by Prettier or something like that, which shows Aaron looking over his shoulder as Dante's eyeing him down. I didn't mention that.
Well, I've been thinking this since the very moment we saw Dante. Because because one of the first things he's talking to Siddiq, and Siddiq's like right in the middle of one of his zone out, 1,000-mile stares. And he's like, dude, you're staring at my mouth. Do you want to kiss me or what? And I'm like, I can see this. I'm for it.
I don't know, though. I kind of think of Dante as just being like a really brash sort of like thinking that everybody just wants to, everybody's just kind of like into him. I don't know. For me, the thing that I think that I kind of took away more from Siddiq's situation is that, one, I really, really, really need to understand what, and I'm sure we're going to get more layers kind of peeled from what happened that evening when everyone was like murdered, because there just seems to be more to it. There just seems to be more to what happened in that in that shed or when they captured everybody, because there's trauma there, but I don't know if it's mixed with guilt. And I don't know if it's guilt from omission, from feeling that he didn't act. I don't know if it's guilt because he acted in a way that, put the lives of all these people at risk and killed. But there's something there.
Yep.
And I also think there's Rachael, I mean, about this. There's a very significant death that happens during the Whisper War that involves a water tower. Yes. I don't think that the character that it occurs to in the comic will be the one that it occurs to on the show.
And you think it's Siddiq?
I think it's Siddiq. I think that
would be tragic.
I 100% agree with you. And I think the scene we saw with Carol is foreshadowing of that.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, that's very true.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to bring up two things that people have brought up. Well, one that I will bring up and base it off of a comment Miss Mazel just said right now. So one is that you do see a genuine flash to something we haven't seen before in his flashbacks. And I don't know if you noticed it, but I'm going to tell you what I noticed because I watched this shit in full screen. One of his flashes is of Alpha holding up a knife horizontally.
Yes.
His blood dripping off of it. And what she says straight into the camera, assuming this camera is Siddiq's eyes, is good.
Yes. So you have to wonder, did she make him do that? Did he do it? Was he forced to?
Wait, did I say this on the air? Because do you remember when I was editing the first episode and I said something crazy in the chat about how I went a little far, and I'm sorry, but I had said, what if...
we've been toying around with this. We've been kicking this around a little bit.
But what if Siddiq made the actual cuts? What if Siddiq actually made the killing, at least the killing blows, because of his surgical skills? I said this, damn it, I didn't say it on the air, because I realized it afterwards, and I was like, then it went down a religious path that I'm not going to discuss. I'm so upset at myself for not even bringing it up once. But when I saw this flash, I'm like, oh my God, am I right? I don't want to be right. But
I think it's possible, but not necessary, because we've already seen Alpha take off heads before, so we know she's capable of doing it. Yeah, she didn't need him to do that,
right?
But she still could have made him.
Yeah,
right. And what I said in the chat was it would make sense for him to do it, because if he was the one to at least do it, he would do it in the least painless way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like him having the surgical skill to be able to cut the
well, you'd have to kill him first.
The jugular.
Before you even begin to cut their head off.
Yeah.
You have to kill them painlessly.
Right.
Yeah.
And then sever the head.
Well, yeah. So what I mentioned in the chat with you guys while I was editing the episode, I was like, oh my God, it could be like kosher slaughter, which technically is done via a fine, unnotched, like microscopically unnotched blade. And it's so specific as to not to cause the animal harm, which is like we're going into the kashrut thing again, but like how you kill an animal for meat is so specific, and that even one mistake renders it unkosher because the animal is not supposed to feel pain. And so what I was thinking in terms of just boiling that down to Siddiq was like, okay, would you rather the Whisperers cut their head off, or if given the choice, the Sophie's choice, like Siddiq would volunteer?
I totally thought Sophie's choice. Thought Sophie's choice with the situation.
Right. Oh, and yes, and Milani brings up the fact that she thought he pleaded for Rosita's life by helping Alpha capture them. And I mentioned that in the episode, if you remember, Milani.
You did,
by the way.
Yeah. You did throw that out there.
It's worth bringing up again. But going back to the barn, though, it really shocked me to have this revelation, and I couldn't help myself. I'm like texting everybody in the middle of the night. Nobody responded, obviously, because they're asleep. Thank goodness. But I'm almost like, how that's dark. First of all, and the fact that we have this little flash to make me think that this is a possibility is making me think, oh my God, this guy's been through so much more.
It's become more and more apparent that there was definitely more to it than what we think. And I think that's why, like, eventually he'll be a big figure in wanting to fight against the Whispers, and he will go down in a more grandiose death than the deaths of his colleagues and friends, basically.
Right. Which brings me, I'm sorry, to Miss Mazel's comment, which made me think of this, is okay, so she says, I heard an interesting theory that Siddiq freaks out when he sees Carol because he killed them, or Henry. She said Hennessy, but I know she meant Henry. Mm-hmm. Hennessy.
Yeah.
I'd kill a bottle of Hennessy if I found that out. But yeah. And so that's what triggered me. So I had to go into.
While he's trying to remove the glass, that's why he's freaking out. Is that what you mean?
Was it that? Yeah. In that flash, right? He sees the thing with the horizontal blade and blood dripping.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Ooh. Bad news for the Siddiq. Yeah. Oh, and yeah, Milani was like saying, and I thought this too, Milani. I kind of went a little too far in my reasoning, but he told Carl he was releasing Walker's souls when he was out there. That could be a variation, on what he did, basically. So that's dark, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing about Dante that I wanted to kind of talk about is, I mean, I like that we get a little bit more dimension to his character, that he's not this one-dimensional.
I do appreciate that.
Thing.
No, I do appreciate that we got dimension to him very quickly, in terms of like that he, because in the comic, he's a martial fighter, but we don't get where he came from previously, before obviously all of this happened. So it's kind of nice that they kind of fleshed him out to say, like, he was in the army, and he was a army medic, and he was in the war in Iraq, and the things that he saw, like, it just gives him dimension, which I always like when they do that with any of the characters, because it just fleshes them out more, especially with a character like him that in the comic and obviously on the show also, like, me and Rach were so excited when they introduced him, because he fit the mold so well in terms of like the Dante character that's so brash and confident and cocky, like just like. But I'm glad that they fleshed him out also, because
did you get a little bit of that in the comic, like any sort of like?
No, the comic isn't as much as the comic is great. Like I mean,
it was written
they
by
don't
Robert Kirkman. Oh my God. He's the guy's guy.
There's not as much fleshing out of like certain characters, So I appreciate that, Alpha's very fleshed out, and Dante's being very fleshed out too, which is great because it just gives you some more insight to like, okay, I'm getting more insight into what this guy's about. All right.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's almost faking it till he makes it too, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, and on a level. Right. But I wanted to make one more comment. It kind of goes along the lines of like talking about sexuality, but like I if you had to nail me down on one or the other, I would say, well, if Negan could have a father, Gabriel, like someone who gets to know him a little bit better, then why can't Dante have Siddiq in a way? So like, okay, he's going to let his confidence down just a little bit to kind of empathize with him.
Right.
So I kind of compare the two and say, okay, maybe he's the only one that gets a little bit of real Dante. Just like Gabriel gets a little bit of real Negan. Or like,
and I do see Dante similar to like a Negan in that same respect. A lot of bravado, a lot of showmanship, the kind of stuff. Like you don't necessarily get to see, vulnerability necessarily. That's, you're not going to get much of a glimpse of that. Only a select few can see that. Can
get close. Yeah. Okay, and if there's nothing else, we can jump to whatever sneak peeks were left. Yeah? Because I know we destroyed this mother.
I think so.
My last note was about Dante and Siddiq, so.
I mean, I'd like to see that, I guess.
No, I want to see Dante and Maggie. I want to see that interaction. Because I feel like Maggie's such a straight-laced and he's so brash. Like, I want to see that.
Yeah, that would be a fun day. Now, I don't know that Siddiq feels the same way, but I'm definitely seeing, I don't know. I feel like Dante's looking at Siddiq a certain way, but I don't know that Siddiq's, feeling the same.
I don't think. No.
I'm not seeing it.
I think Siddiq needs this. That's all I'm going to say. He needs somebody like that. Oh my God, my cousin just joined. Hey, cuz. Yeah, talking about cousins. No, it's my guy cousin. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. Okay, sneak peeks. Hey, subject change. Yeah.
All right, my favorite part.
Oh yeah, okay. Because we already talked about Michonne and the extended sneak peek, Kenrick Green, etc. Skin. I like how they're starting to refer to them as the skins, quote unquote.
Yeah. Interesting.
Which is it's like less menacing. It's more like, okay, this is more grounded in reality. Like there's less mythos to them, right?
Yeah.
There's more pathos. Interesting thing, Aaron is stoking the flames of war, and then you start to see for the first time the Silence the Whispers. Or, well, here's the thing. They spray paint Silence the Whispers, but the next episode I think is called Silence the Whisperers. So I have to double check that. Okay. But Lydia seems troubled at Aaron's call to war. Okay. Which it seems to me like if Aaron's calling war, then Alpha's plan is working, and Lydia's like, oh, this is stupid. Did I say Lydia or Alpha? I said Alpha's plan is working, right? Okay. Yeah. And you do see a scene with Lydia with bloody fingers going shh to the highway woman that spoke up in the last town hall.
Yes.
So what's going on there, huh? Now we jump to the hilltop where Ezekiel is present. Okay? And it seems like something terrible happened there, like a big ass tree trunk, which we saw in the teaser, is down the front walls of the front doors of the hilltop. Luke asks Connie if she thinks it's them, the Whisperers. And Connie's like, no, I don't think so. I don't know. I hope I did that right. I hope I didn't offend somebody because I just did like this. I don't know.
You said I don't know.
Is that right? Did I
Yeah.
did that? Yeah. All right, cool. I'm not bad. Okay. Moving. I have a speak with a New York accent. I signed with a New York accent.
Sign with a New York accent.
I signed with a New York accent.
Like
this. Okay. But Earl. So Connie says she doesn't think so, but Earl is like just jumps to paranoia. Earl Sutton, the blacksmith. Hilltop is under attack after that, and a walker horde approaches the Hilltop gates, and that's where we leave off. These are pretty cut and dry sneak peeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to read this comment. The walking D-head. I can go so many places with that. I don't think Lydia should have been allowed to stay. I feel like she's always going to go to her mama if she needs her. I think that's intentional, but I love that you said it, because then we could contrast. No, because I think that is what's going to play into it. Like, it's like they are going to make you think that Lydia is going to have some sort of sympathy for Alpha. And why wouldn't she, right? It's her mom. Right?
Especially now that we've seen this more emotional side of Alpha. Like, this is not, this is uncharted territory for Carol and I. Like, this is not the character we know. And
no.
Yeah, I mean, I really that was my question last episode too. If Lydia knew how her mother felt, would she go back?
Yeah.
I don't think it matters.
I still can't answer it.
I don't.
But I hear what, and the reason why you can't is because, I mean, they're gonna play with it.
Yeah,
they're gonna leave you in that gray zone.
Right. It's her mom. I mean, it's her mother.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what, that's I don't.
Oh, but then Miss Mazel takes the rear and she goes, "Oh, yep, Lydia gonna take mommy's head."
See, and I could see that too. Like I could see both. I could see both ways.
Yeah.
And not be surprised at all.
Yeah.
Oh, and Freakish Order taking up the rear and she goes, "If the Alexandrians treat her like shit, then it's very plausible for Lydia to return to her people." Lol.
That's true too. If Lydia doesn't feel accepted, she has all the more reason to go back to the people who accept her.
There's a lot of dimensions to this. Bernie says. Bernie Sanders on the show now.
Oh my God.
Excuse me. Wilani says, "I feel Lydia walked away for good." Ooh.
I wonder how Lydia would feel about Gamma.
Well, that's the interesting question.
Perfect timing, because Wilani says Gamma may come after Lydia when she finds she's alive.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. What's going to happen when all the Whisperers find out that Lydia's still alive?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Alpha's going to have some splaining to do.
Mm-hmm.
Alpha, you got some splaining to do. And like even the Walking D-head says, "I've been thinking the horde is from Beta. Like, who else could it be? Like, if it doesn't fit her mom's actions, or could it all be Gamma? Is that what's throwing everybody off?
All these little herds that keep coming,
because she says it's not her.
Well, she said it's not us.
Oh, not us. She says not us.
Not us. Not us.
Well, I think it is, and I wanted to bring this up at the beginning of the episode, because the point that Eugene tries to make at the town hall.
Yeah, I heard that too.
It could just be the crash. It could just be that.
Right.
And it's dispersing the already crazy horde. And we're all freaking out and getting paranoid for nothing. I mean,
that was kind of funny. Where it's like, "I'm so tired of hearing about the damn fire in satellite, Eugene." I'm like,
from the highway woman person.
Yeah, I was like, poor Eugene. Show the man some respect. That's a valid point.
It is a very valid point. It's a very valid.
And doesn't it show like a kind of regression to the way we used to treat Eugene? I mean, again, this is them being 24 hours up and 48. I don't even know at this point.
Sleep deprivation is a real thing. Yeah. So.
Absolutely.
And Freakish Order saying Gamma definitely has another layer to her. Would be interesting if she wanted to overthrow Beta and eventually Alpha. By the way, Freakish Order, this is what I've been trying to say the whole time.
Yeah, we've come
saying I'm more threatened by her. Yeah. Motherfucker. Anyway, so
I think if Alpha was sending all these little herds, she would take claim. I mean, why would they?
Yeah, she would.
Why would they say it's not that? I mean, she most definitely wants people to fear her. So if she's sending all these little herds, she'd be like, "That's right, it was me.
Yeah,
look what I can do to you."
Exactly. She would claim it. She wouldn't.
I'm very intrigued. I think it's very possible that it is not the Whisperers. I think it really is.
I don't think it.
But I also do think they want to make Carol crazy. So I think there's two different things going on here too.
Wait. You mean the little herds or the visions? Of
the
Whisper?
Visions scenarios, whatever it is.
Oh yeah,
they are definitely following the leaders, trying to wear them down, make them make rash decisions, or maybe goad them into war, and maybe the Walkers just happens to be an incidental pressure. So who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? And that's the beauty of what's going on here, is that we're noticing that, wait, maybe it isn't them. Well, maybe it is them, but it's definitely them. Fuck that. So, I mean, that's the thing. So it could be anything. And like the Walking Dead says, Beta's been questioning Alpha's actions a lot lately. I don't like the Whisperers, but I feel like when they say something, they're not lying. Right. When they're saying something, they're not lying. So, yeah, I don't know. My God, your husband just said it's like Murphy from Z Nation sending the herds.
Yeah.
We always have to bring Z Nation. I think that's a good place as any to end off on.
Yeah.
I love that you guys are coming in, by the way, right now and bringing up some really good shit for the next episode.
Yes.
Because all of this is going to come to play in the psychology of wait, is that what we're supposed to think? Or is that what we're supposed to think? Could be anybody's guess. Could be all of them, actually, too. So, yeah. And what if the stuff from the spacecraft is attracting the Walkers? Could be that. Find out next time on the next Squawking Dead. Anyway. Yeah, we got this way right from the beginning of the show. So, is there anything that we want to leave off with? Okay, so yes, like I said, we're gonna go over. So do us a favor, if you are on YouTube, Mixer, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, give us a like. Leave any comments about what you think about this episode and what we should be talking about. They're gonna become very important as we do pre-recorded episodes. So, take that to the bank and stuff it. I'm going to be announcing in our next before our pre-recorded episode, talking about Walker Stalker experiences, positive ones. I'm going to be unveiling the subscription system, because I got some very positive feedback on whether I just need 2 people to start with, 2 dedicated people to start subscribing to us on this new system. And I will unveil it over the next couple days repeatedly so that it gets your attention. And then also in the pre-recorded show, I will say, oh, you might notice that we're not live. Anyway, so I'll be discussing that more later. But in the meantime, leave a like, comment, subscribe to all those things. It really does help the show. Yeah, and you know what? Even though we will be pre-recording the show, we will be in the live chat when we premiere it. So stay tuned. We'll give you ample time to join us, hopefully. And in the meantime, I think that's it. Like, it feels weird to not have housekeeping, like to not have something on the horizon that we can inform you about. But also, now that the giveaway is up, I have to remind you, if you do listen to us on the audio podcasts, leave a rating in Stitcher and or Apple Podcasts. We actually are on charts, believe it or not. And we're on the Austrian charts, 3 different Austrian charts, right? Okay, I'm just letting you know right now. But we could really use the help. I know, it's weird. I'll show you next time. But I'll take a screenshot. But on iTunes, actually. It's really weird. But yeah, so it has been helping. So please help us with a rating on either Stitcher or Apple Podcasts. So, or anywhere podcasts are available to you, because we are everywhere. To go to Squawking Dead main menu, listen. And with that, I'll see you guys. We'll see you guys in a few days, I hope. With that yawn. Good night, folks.
Bye.
Do it.
Do it.